Have you ever seen a moment so powerful that it changed the entire mood of a room? Where silence wasn't awkward, it was sacred? That's exactly what happened in a crowded bar one Friday night when a tough-as-nails Navy SEAL asked a woman a simple question. "What's your call sign?" What she answered, just two words, Sable Three, made him freeze, drop his drink, and stand in absolute shame that you're watching Grow for Justice, where we bring you true and dramatic stories of courage, redemption, and truth that deserve to be told. Make sure to subscribe right now and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now let's begin. It was a quiet coastal town near Virginia Beach, the kind of place where the ocean breeze mixes with stories of men who had served their country. Bars were filled with uniforms, laughter, and the invisible weight of memories too heavy to name. On a Friday night, the Breakwater Bar was packed, music low, glasses clinking, and old war buddies trading stories that sounded half like legend, half like pain. Among them sat a man named Jake Turner, a Navy SEAL known among his peers for his confidence, charm, and the kind of ego you earn after years in combat. He was off duty, relaxed, still carrying that sharp, proud posture of someone who had lived through the unimaginable. To his right sat two fellow SEALs, laughing about past missions, when the door opened and a woman walked in alone. She wasn't trying to stand out, but she did. Not because of her beauty, though she was striking in her simplicity, jeans, a leather jacket, hair tied back. It was her aura, the kind that made people look twice without understanding why. She walked to the counter, ordered a coffee instead of a drink, and sat quietly, eyes scanning the room, not with curiosity, but calculation. Jake noticed her instantly. He wasn't the type to hesitate. "You military?" he asked, half smiling, his tone playful but proud. She looked at him, expression unreadable. "Used to be," she said softly. "Used to be," he repeated. "Army, Navy, Air Force?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stirred her coffee slowly, her gaze distant. Something about her silence caught him off guard. "Come on," he pressed, smirking. "We're all friends here. What was your unit?" She finally looked him dead in the eyes. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "Oh, try me," he said, leaning closer. "We SEALs have seen it all. What was your call sign?" The room had gone quiet now, half listening. She hesitated for only a second, then said it, two simple words that sent a visible shiver through Jake's face. Sable Three. It was like someone had cut the music. The bar fell dead silent. Jake's smirk vanished. He blinked twice, his drink still halfway to his lips. His teammates exchanged uneasy glances. "What did you say?" he whispered. She repeated, calm and firm. "Sable Three." Jake stood up slowly. His face turned pale, his jaw clenched. He looked like a man who had just seen a ghost. "That's impossible," he muttered. But it wasn't, because Sable Three wasn't just any call sign. It belonged to one of the most classified Black Ops missions the Navy had ever conducted, Operation Widow's Veil, nearly 6 years ago. Every SEAL in that room had heard of it, but few knew the details. It was a mission that went sideways, one that cost innocent lives, and someone inside the team had made a catastrophic mistake. And that mistake? Jake had made it. The flashbacks hit him like gunfire. A stormy night in the mountains of Kiener Province. His unit had been hunting a high-value target, but communication had broken down. The backup team, Sable Unit, was supposed to provide extraction. A misread coordinate, a delayed signal, and the evac bird went down in enemy territory. Everyone thought Sable Unit perished, but they hadn't. Reports said one survivor made it out after 72 hours of firefights and radio silence. A ghost who dragged 2 wounded Marines out of a burning wreckage and called in the final airstrike that ended the siege. That ghost was Sable Three. And now, she was sitting in front of him. Jake's voice cracked. "You were there. You were the one who," she nodded once. "I was the one you left behind." The silence in the bar grew heavier. No one breathed. Jake took a step back, his face red with guilt. "They told us you were gone. We thought the unit didn't make it. We tried to." She cut him off coldly. "You try to forget us." Her tone wasn't angry. It was controlled, but sharp as steel. "You were supposed to send coordinates for extraction. You sent them 30 miles off. We waited for 3 days while you were celebrating mission success. The men beside Jake looked stunned. Jake, what's she talking about? But Jake didn't answer. He couldn't. The truth was there, written in his eyes. She continued, voice trembling slightly now. I buried two of my team with my own hands. You don't forget something like that. Jake opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Regret, shame, disbelief, all collided in a single expression of defeat. He finally whispered, I didn't know anyone survived. She looked at him, eyes softening just a fraction. I know. That's what makes it worse. The bartender, an old veteran himself, broke the tension. Ma'am, he said quietly, you're saying you're the Sable Three? From Widow's Vale. She nodded. Yes, sir. A collective hush fell again. Some of the younger men in uniform straightened up in respect. Everyone had heard the legend, the lone survivor who had carried out a rescue under impossible odds. But they had never known her name. Jake finally stepped closer, his voice low. You saved those Marines. You saved them. She shrugged. It was my job. No, he said, shaking his head, his voice breaking. You saved us too. You saved our honor. We left you behind, and you still did what none of us could. She sighed, finishing her coffee. I didn't do it for honor, Jake. I did it because someone had to. For the first time in years, Jake, once the confident SEAL everyone admired, was speechless. He lowered his head. I'm sorry. She looked at him for a long moment, then said softly, I know you are. Then she reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a worn military patch, tattered, burned around the edges. She placed it on the counter. That's all that was left of my team, she said. I've carried it long enough. Maybe it's time you do. Jake stared at the patch like it was sacred. His hands shook as he picked it up. The next few minutes were wordless. Everyone in the bar seemed to sense they were witnessing something that didn't belong to ordinary life. A moment of truth, redemption, and respect that only those who have lost brothers and sisters in uniform could fully understand. As she turned to leave, Jake called out, Where will you go now? She smiled faintly. Wherever I'm needed. That's what we do, right? And then she walked out into the cool ocean air, leaving behind a room full of soldiers who would never forget her name or her call sign. Jake sat in silence long after she left, the patch still clutched in his hand. One of his teammates finally whispered, What now? Jake looked up, tears forming in his eyes. Now we remember her. Now we make sure no one ever gets left behind again. That night, the laughter in the breakwater bar didn't return. The music stayed off, but something else filled the room instead. Honor, because even among warriors, sometimes it takes one quiet voice, one survivor, to remind them of the cost of their pride. Months later, word spread among military circles. The mysterious Sable Three had reappeared, training new recruits, quietly shaping the next generation of soldiers. And among them was Jake, reassigned as an instructor. Every morning before training began, he would hold up that burned patch and remind his students, heroes don't always wear medals. Sometimes they carry scars. And in every briefing room, her name, Sable Three, became more than a call sign. It became a reminder of loyalty, of courage, of redemption. And that's her story, that a woman once forgotten, who walked back into the world and made even the toughest men remember what it means to serve with honor. If this story moved you, if it gave you chills, or made you think about the sacrifices real heroes make, then do one thing for me right now. Hit that subscribe button and join us here on Grow for Justice, where we share true and powerful stories that deserve to be heard. Speech balloon and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Because stories like this remind us we're all connected by courage, by memory, and by justice.